course, the ladies' best works going live. So we're live now, but we won't start. We're recording, but they have to wait. We're gonna start in 4 minutes. Yeah. Yes. 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 The Jewish day has to be 12 hours. 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night, no matter what. According to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, this is Sha'ot Zamaniyot. That's what it's called. It applies to every single mitzvah when it has to do with time. Everything. So you have the hour is a different hour. If you take all the minutes of the day, the way to do it is take all the minutes of sunshine. That's the best way to do it. There's a couple of ways to do it, but that's the way I told my kids. They understand me. Take all the minutes of sunshine. Let's say 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. How many minutes is that? That's 12 hours, right? 720 minutes. Divide all those minutes by 12. There has to be 12 parts of the day, no matter what. And then in the winter time, let's say, make it 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Add up all those minutes, divide them by 12. That's how long your hour is. So we want to figure out Rabbeinu Tam, Shabbat, let's say 72 minutes. It's not 72 minutes. That's why the poskim, they don't write 72 minutes. The older poskim, maybe the new ones do. They write Sha'ava Homesh, an hour and a fifth. This way you could just do the math, right? 20% more. So if an hour is 40 minutes, that's another 20%. That's another 8 minutes. It's 48 minutes. It's not 72 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, ready to roll? Mrs. Adato, green light? Okay, it's my show. Okay. So for whoever was here last night when I spoke to Dash Sheet, not many, I talked about Hana. And I was thinking to elaborate on that today. And then what I learned was it's too much. There's so much to learn from Hana that we may have to split it up into a two-part series. So I'm not going to do it all today about Hana, and I'm also not going to repeat too much from yesterday. I'll see that for another time. But we will talk a little bit about Hana. Hana. You're used to my accent by now, I'm sure. Okay. But I want to start with something strange in our Parashat today. First of all, Chodesh Tov. It's Elul. The judgment day is coming. Parashat today, yesterday, very long parashat, lots of mitzvot, and one of them is very weird. And so it says over here, Rak hazak, be very, very strong, hazak. You don't find this in the Torah frequently for one mitzvah. You'll find the Torah, Hashem says, hazak, be strong in general. But hazak for one mitzvah only, be very, very strong to fulfill this mitzvah. Wow, such an important mitzvah that I have to be hazak, strong for. What is this mitzvah? Rak hazak, libilti achol hadam. Don't eat blood. And I want you to be very strong. Make sure you don't eat blood. We're vampires. Who wants to eat blood? This is the mitzvah that it says hazak of all the mitzvot. Rak hazak, libiti achol adam. Don't eat the blood. Why does it say eat the blood and not drink the blood? Probably because what it means is don't eat the blood is don't eat the meat when it's all bloody. I don't think anyone's going to take a glass of blood, but we have to salt the meat to take the blood out. So don't eat the blood. Why not don't eat the blood? Ki hadam hu nafesh, because the blood is the soul. Everything you eat turns into blood, right? The blood is the soul. There is a lot of Kabbalah on that. The blood is the soul. Fine. You can't eat the soul when you eat the meat. This is the pasuk in the Torah where Hashem says, hazak, be very, very strong. We need Rashi on this pasuk badly. Rashi has to explain to us what in the world we have to be so strong about when it comes to drinking and eating blood. It should be obvious. Says Rashi, hazak, the fact that it says be strong not to eat blood, must be they enjoyed eating blood. That's what Rashi says. This is Rashi. Must be they enjoyed eating it in the desert. Must be. That's why Hashem has to say, hey guys, I know you love blood. Hazak, be very, very strong. Right, strange pshat. But this is the pashut pshat. This is the pashut pshat of the pasuk. The basic understanding. If you tell me to be strong, it means that it's a weakness of mine. Who says this? Rashi says, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda held that this pasuk literally, Rak hazak, I think it's the only time in the Torah where it says hazak for one mitzvah only. Rabbi Yehuda says because they love eating the blood. Okay, now there could be deeper understandings of this. I'm not saying no. Maybe they enjoyed eating the blood because the blood is the nefesh, whatever. But on a basic understanding, Rabbi Yehuda says just take the pasuk literally. Rabbi Shimon ben Azai Omer. Now there's a couple of different textual variations. Some people say it's Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Bar Yochai. Ben is Bad in Aramaic. The same thing. Some people say it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but I'm going to say it's Rabbi Shimon ben Azai. What did he say? Omer, Lo bahakatuv ela lehazkirecha ulamidcha ad kama ata tzarich litchazek b'mitzvot. This pasuk is only coming to strengthen you and tell you how important it is to do mitzvot strongly. Why? Im hadam shu kali shamed mimenu. Blood, which is so easy. Who wants to drink blood? It's disgusting. No one wants blood anyway. Who desires blood? It has to make you strong and say, hazak, don't eat the blood. Imagine the other mitzvot the other commandments that you actually want to transgress. Like the Taco Bell commercials, or when you walk by and it smells amazing and it's not kosher, or a non-Jewish woman, or whoever it is. The other mitzvot that you want to transgress, which you actually desire, kal v'chomer, imagine how much stronger you have to be to make sure you don't transgress. That's Rabbi Shimon ben Azai. So again, Rashi has two explanations. The first, as Rashi's way, is pashut pshat, just how you understand the pasuk. By the way, Rashi's grandson, the Rashbam, Rashi always says in the Torah, Lo bati ela lefesh pshat. I'm only here for the pshat. Rashi always says this in the Chumash. I'm only here for the pshat, Rashi says. The Rashbam, who's Rashi's grandson, he writes in his Pirush towards the end of the Torah, he says, Rashbam, one of my favorite Mefarshim in the Chumash, by the way, the Rashbam is very much pshat, more than Rashi. He doesn't even do midrashim in his Pirush. Very, very pshat. Rashbam writes my grandfather says he's for pshat, but he's not for pshat. He writes this in his pirush. And he says, I spoke to my grandfather about it, Rashi. And he told me if I could, I would write a whole new pirush on the Torah all over again. This is Hashbam writes this, by the way. Hashbam writes, Rashi said, I came out to do the pshat. I guess the midrashim were too tempting. He got into the midrashim. Who doesn't love midrashim? And Hashbam says, I approached my grandpa. I said, Grandpa, Zaidi, whatever they called him, where the Rashi was from. He says, you said you're coming from pshat. You're not coming for pshat. I'm coming for pshat. And he said, you know what? I want to write another pirush on the Torah, even more pshat. Rashbam says this in his pirush. Anyway, back to our Rashi. So Rashi says two pshatim. Number one, the pashu pshat. Why does it say hazak? Strong. Don't eat blood. Because they loved eating blood. Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Shimon ben Azai says the opposite. They hated drinking blood. Who wants to eat blood? If the Torah says in the most disgusting mitzvah, hazak, be strong, that's a lesson. Imagine how much more you have to be strong for all the mitzvot in the Torah. The Lubavitch Rebbe says a very interesting thing. He says, this is not the first time we have Rabbi Shimon ben Azai, and he says, it's Rabbi Shimon ben Azai, not Rabbi Shimon ben Bar Yochai. The Lubavitch Rebbe says, it's ben Azai, because there are other things that Rabbi Shimon ben Azai says that they say in Yiddish shtim in yeshiva. They say it goes with it. For example, Pirkei Avot chapter 4. Ben Azai Omer. Who's Ben Azai? Rabbi Shimon Ben Azai. It's the same rabbi. Doesn't say his first name. Chapter 4, Mishnah 2. Pirkei Avot. Ben Azai Omer Heveratz lemitzvah kala. Run to a mitzvah that's easy. Run to a mitzvah that's easy. Uboreach min ha'avera. And run away from ha'avera. Makes sense? This is the same rabbi who's saying hazak on the dam, on the blood. For sure, you have to be strong. Rabbi Shimon is saying you got to have a lot of passion when it comes to the Torah. You got to be fired up. Which means you see something's not kosher, run. The guy walking into a house and all of a sudden there's a TV on in the living room. The guy hightails out of there as fast as he can. Doesn't walk out. He runs. Rabbi Shimon ben Azai is saying you got to be passionate. When you see a mitzvah, you see the poor person needs money, run to the guy, give him the money. Don't walk. Everything Rabbi Shimon ben Azai was doing was full of passion. You see this. And he has one of the most famous lines. We all know his line. This is his go-to catchphrase in his life. Ben Azai Omed, Heveras mitzvah kala, uboreach min ha'avera, run from a sin. Why? Shemitzvah goreret mitzvah, va'avera goreret avera. These are the words of Ben Azai. This is the rabbi who said hazak on the blood. It's the same rabbi. Because every mitzvah is precious like a diamond. And so you have to be super, 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 super strong. And so if someone walks over to me and says, hey, want a glass of blood? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's enough to say, no, thank you. I would like it, but I don't want it. According to Ben Azai, it's boom, knock the blood, disgusting. Hazak, I have to be strong. And imagine if someone says, you want a delicious Papa John's pizza or whatever. Imagine how much more he's going to say, get that out of my face. This is Ben Azai. And so it's falling in line with what he says. Now, the Lubavitch Rebbe doesn't say this, but I want to add another thing. Look at the next Mishnah. Hu haya omer. He said another thing, Ben Azai. Hu haya omer. He continues in Pirkei Avot. Al tihibaz lechol adam. Let's use the Art Scrolls translation. This Art Scroll? Let's use the Art Scroll translation. Al tihibaz lechol adam. Don't be scornful of any person. Don't just push away any person. This person's a nothing. This person's not important. Nothing to worry about here. And don't be disdainful. Don't discriminate from anything. Every single person has their time. Gemara says this all the time. Every single person has a time when their mazal flips. And it's a good time for that person. The Gemara always says, when someone has a good mazal, don't mess with them. Don't mess with them. Because things are going good for them right now. You're going to lose. The Gemara says this. Tamidei Hachamim, Sadiqim Gimurim. The Gemara has a whole question. What about a Sadiq? Can a Sadiq, even a Rasha, even a Rasha that's on a good streak, everything he's touching turns to gold, Rasha. Should the Sadiq start up with him? Well, that says only if you're Sadiq Gamur. you're a perfect tzaddik, you'll win this guy. Otherwise, let it go. Come back a different time. You're not going to win when he's on top. Everyone has their time when they're on top, and everyone has their time when they're on bottom. And everything has a place. And so he's continuing with his thing. He's saying, just like every mitzvah, I run to every mitzvah. The smallest mitzvah is the biggest thing to me. And the smallest avirah is the worst thing in the whole world to me. So too, every single guy and gal and kid, every single person I come into contact with, I never push, what's this person? No, this person's going to be a great person one day, maybe. This person's a fabulous person. He's not a nobody. Every little thing, he's just full of passion. Ben Azai is someone who doesn't leave one stone unturned. Everything is just magnified. Seems that's the way he lived his life. This is Ben Azai. Okay. Gemara Berachot. The Rebbe does bring this down in his talk. Gemara Berachot says a very weird story. So bear with me. Don't run out in the middle of the story because you're going to have a weird idea, okay? I'm not going to explain to you the story, actually. So even after I'm done the story, it's going to be weird. It's a weird story. Okay, says the Gemara Berachot, this is towards the end of the Masechet. The Gemara says, Tanya, Ben Azai Omer. Ben Azai says, same Rabbi. Says Ben Azai, one time I followed the rabbi, Rabbi Akiva, into the bathroom. By accident or on purpose? On purpose. He followed him into the bathroom. You saw the rabbi was going to the bathroom. He scooched in the bathroom quick. And I learned halachot of how to use the bathroom by watching him in the bathroom. This is Ben Azai says. He watched the rabbi in the bathroom. There are certain halachot about using the bathroom. Shulchan Aruch talks about this as siniut. You have to try your best to not uncover as much as you can. He learned for the men, I don't even know how in the world I'm going to say this. This is on recording. For the men, there's laws of how to clean yourself. Let's just make it very light. Because basically the tefillin is on your left hand. All right. You wrap the tefillin with your right hand. So since the right hand is doing the mitzvah of wrapping, you want to try to preserve the right hand and keep the right hand clean. How about that? That's the Shulchan Aruch says. Okay, fine. So anyway, he follows Rabbi Akiva. He follows Rabbi Akiva into the bathroom, and he learns 3 laws from his Rebbe. He's watching his Rebbe in the bathroom. This is the Ben Azai. Okay. Now what happens? Interesting. Amar lo Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda tells him, Rabbi Yehuda, that's the other rabbi from this Rashi. Rabbi Yehuda is the first rabbi who's like, chill out. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ad kan he'azta panecha berabecha. How much chutzpah you have? How much brazenness do you have that you follow your Rebbe into the bathroom? Rabbi Yehuda is arguing with him. He answers him famously, Amar lo, Ben Azai says to him, Torahi v'lilmod ani sarich. Even going to the bathroom is part of the Torah. I have to learn. How am I supposed to find out if I don't follow him into the bathroom? Sorry. Interesting how the claim against him was, Ad kan he'azta panecha, chutzpah, he'azta, Ben Azai. It's the same word. Azai, it means brazenness. His name means brazenness. Maybe this is why they call him Ben Azai, and not by his first name, Rabbi Shimon. Because Ben Azai means, this is just me talking, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but Ben Azai means sometimes like Ben Adam, a person. Ben Azai is someone who's brazen, someone who's really out there. Want to hear the next story in the Gemara? That's even wackier. All right, let's do it. I don't have explanations for these, I'm sorry. But the next story is, Rab Kahana, Al Gina Tute Puri de Rav. Rab Kahana followed Rav into his bedroom, and he hid under his bed. Sham'eh Desav Sahak V'asat Sirakav, and he heard how much he was making his wife laugh, saying jokes, and him and his wife were together, the rabbi, and the students under the bed, and they're having a great time. They're laughing, and he opens his mouth from under the bed. Amaleh, and he says, "Dameh pumeh de'aba kidlosh sharif tabshila." The way your mouth is speaking is like you haven't eaten in a while. So he tells his Rebbe, like, come on, have a little class. He's telling his Rebbe. Amar lo, Kahana, Hakaat. The Rebbe says, Kahana, what is that you? Where are you? Kahana, where are you? Who? Get out of here. He says, leave. The lav orach. It's not nice. Amar lo, Torahi. V'lilmod ani sarich. It's Torah, same line as Ben Azai. It's Torah. I got to learn. How am I supposed to know how am I supposed to be with my wife? Okay. So the Gemara has interesting stories. Am I recommending these to us? No. We shouldn't do these things. Don't follow people into the bathroom, please. And don't sneak into people's bedrooms. But Ben Azai is showing us a passion for mitzvot. These days, now, which way is the right way? Rabbi Yehuda's way or Ben Azai's way? Rabbi Yehuda's way is more chill out. Chill out. Calm down. Don't have chutzpah. Ben Azai is like the guy that's full throttle. Which way is the right way? The truth is, it's probably a balance of both. There's a time to be full throttle, and there's a time to chill out. But in my humble opinion, these days, with the world around us, they're moving the goalposts. We're playing the same game, but they keep moving the goalposts crazier and crazier. It's not us that's moving. They're moving the line. We're on the same dot, but the world is moving. The way the world is moving right now, society around us, in my humble opinion, we got to start embracing a little bit more Ben Azai. We have to run from the bad stuff. It's not enough to chill out. I have children. The stuff they show on children's shows, children's TV shows, will blow your mind. Children's TV shows. You can't just leave your kids in front of a TV and park them with the TV's the babysitter for the next hour. You can't do that. Maybe you could have done that 20 years ago. You can't do that these days. You have to run away from it. You have to be very, very careful. The chilling out, it's very hard to chill out and be Jewish these days because the world's going to scoop you up. Everything's changing around us. And so these days, we should not follow people into the bathroom, but we should treat the mitzvot hazak, like it's a cup of blood. Something that's forbidden is a cup of blood. You have to be super strong and passionate. Ben Azai and Amir Tepkei Avot. Ben Azai says, treat everyone with respect because you never know what's going to happen. Now, this lesson's for the bad and also for the good. You have to run away from the bad and you have to chase after the good. If something's no good for you, like we always say, Rabbi Miller always talks about this in his books and on his tapes. If something is no good for you and you just say, it's okay, I don't believe this, but I'm going to go to the movie theater. I don't believe in this stuff. Don't worry, it's fine. It's going to seep into you. It seeps into you. I don't know how many times I've quoted my mom in this class. You live with the horses, you smell like the horses. In a very New York accent. That's the way she used to say it all the time. You live with the horses, you smell like the horses. It seeps into you. And Ben Azai is teaching us here to run. Don't walk. Run from something that's forbidden. And on the counter, on the other side, you have to run to mitzvot. Run to mitzvot. And ati baz l'chol adam. And so sometimes I hear people, the shiur, the rabbi's not really, let's say the shiur. I'm not a gadol. Whatever, go to shiur. Well, he's a big gadol. No, but ati baz l'chol adam. Don't treat anyone lightly. You never know what you're going to get. You never know. Every single person has a place. You have to run to goodness when there's a chance to get goodness. How many people don't go to shul because they don't like the rabbi's speech? I don't like the hazan. There's goodness there. Run to it. There's not so much. It's not easy to find these days. Ben Azai. Now, we can say, but that's not fair. You can't expect him to be Ben Azai. Ben Azai, he was born this way. He's just a passionate guy. I'm not like that. I'm going to tell you, if we just backtrack the Gemara, see, this is where I have the power over you with this Gemara, because I know the story before this story. If we just go one story behind in the Gemara, one story behind, I'm going to show you how Ben Azai wasn't like this initially. He made a decision to change. Let's go back one story. What was the story we started with? Ben Azai followed who into the bathroom? Remember? Rabbi Akiva. Let's go back once. Gemara. Tanya. Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, this story is first in the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, one time I followed Rabbi Yehoshua into the bathroom. Rabbi Akiva followed Rabbi Yehoshua into the bathroom. A lot of followings into this Gemara. And I learned 3 halachot from him. Same thing Ben Azai said. And who argued with Rabbi Akiva and said, what a chutzpah? Amar le Ben Azai. Ben Azai tells Rabbi Akiva, Ad kan ha'azta panecha berabecha. What a chutzpah. How do you follow your Rebbe into the bathroom? Amar le Rabbi Akiva tells Ben Azai, Torah hi. It's Torah. I have to learn. 1 second. Ben Azai was the guy telling Rabbi Akiva he has a chutzpah for following his Rebbe into the bathroom. And then a month later, he follows Rabbi Akiva into the bathroom. He's the one with the chutzpah. Ben Azai wasn't born like this. He learned from Rabbi Akiva a lesson. You have to be passionate. And he said to himself, I was on the other side of the fence yesterday. I told him he's chutzpah for going to the bathroom. But he told me it's Torah and I have to learn. You know what? He's right. I'm going to follow him into the bathroom. Karma. Ben Azai, his name, Ben Azai, brazenness. A minute ago, he wasn't brazen. He was just like Rabbi Yehuda on the other side. But he changed. And now he's the one with the passion. The Seforno, there's the first Seforno in this parasha. Reeh anochi noten lepnechem hayom beracha uklala. The first pasuk in the parasha. Look, I'm giving you today beracha, blessing, uklala, and God forbid a curse. Seforno says, what about the middle? There's no middle road here. I don't want a blessing, and I don't want a curse. Can I just be cruise in the middle? Seforno says there is no such thing as a middle. You choose blessings, or you choose curses. Like we say, in spirituality, in Ruhaniyut, there's a lot of gravity. There's no coasting. If you're not going up, you're being sucked down. Every single minute of every single day, based on our choices, we go up or we go down. There is no middle ground for spirituality. There's gravity. You fall. We have to make a conscious decision to choose the beracha. If we don't choose the beracha, then God forbid we choose the kilala. There is no benoni. There's no middle. The Seforno says there's no middle ground. So many times you hear people say, I don't want to be a rabbi. I just want to be middle of the road. Middle of the road. And my favorite, just like the Rambam says, doesn't the Rambam say take the middle road? You know how many times I've heard this in my life? Doesn't the Rambam say take the middle road? And I asked him, did you read the Rambam? Did you read that Rambam? That Rambam is in Halachot De'ot. Rambam is not talking about mitzvot when he says take the middle of the road. Yes, the Rambam says the best way to live is in the middle of the road. Yes, he says this. But what is he talking about? He's talking about personality traits. Like don't be too angry, don't be too easy. Don't be too stubborn, you take the middle ground. He's not talking about serving mitzvot. Like middle road, say Birkat Hamazon on Shabbat, then don't say Birkat Hamazon on the week. I'm the middle road. I'm a middle road Jew. That's not what Rambam's saying. Rambam's words have been twisted probably more than any other words in the history of Judaism. Rambam said take the middle of the road for mitzvot. The Seforno tells us straight away, there's 2 extremes here in life, in Judaism. There's beracha and kilala. We have to choose to be stars. Now, are we always going to actually be stars? No, and that's okay. Hashem doesn't mind. Hashem wants us to choose to be stars. So you shoot for the stars, and you settle for the moon. As long as we shoot for the stars and we choose for the beracha all the time, choose to do the best, we're human. We fall, we falter, we end up benoni, that's fine. You can end up benoni. Don't choose to be a benoni. That's the lesson of the Seforno. Rabbeinu Bachya says on this pasuk, Rabbeinu Bachya says, can't someone just say, I was born this way? Why are you telling me to choose life? Choose beracha or choose kilala? I'm born this way. Rabbeinu Bachya says, this is my genetics. And the answer is it's not about genetics. There's a classic nature versus nurture argument out there. What's more powerful, nature or nurture? I have a psychology degree. I heard this every single day in college for 6 years. Nature or nurture? What's more powerful to a person's development? Biology, the way they were wired, the way they were born, their DNA, or nurture, their environment? And there's a very famous, you can go on YouTube even, I don't recommend it because it's like horrible. But there's a doctor, Dr. Money. Nowadays, they taught this to us in college when I went a long time ago. I don't think they would teach us these days in college. There's a doctor, Dr. Money. Google it, YouTube it. Dr. Money experiment. His name was Dr. Money. And the person had twin boys. And he wanted to prove that nurture is greater than nature. The environment, the way you're brought up, is more powerful than the way you're born, the DNA. And they turned one of the twins into a girl. Long story short, don't watch the YouTube video. Long story short, they're both dead. Both of them, suicide. The boy, the twin that didn't change, and the twin that changed, both committed suicide. Nature is very powerful for kids, I agree. Nature for kids, very powerful. As a father, I finally have enough experience to say, in my opinion, nature is more than nurture for the children. Look at the kids, they're all different. They're in the same exact environment, right? Teachers, right? They're all in the same exact environment. They're all different. They're wired differently. My oldest son and my oldest daughter, when they're walking in the house, if there's a fly that's about to fly into the house from the outside, my oldest son will hit the deck and go crazy and slam the door, break the door to close. My daughter will be like, "What's the big deal? Get the fly out of here." All right, the fly's in the house. They're the same environment, same household, completely different. So for children, my verdict is nature. But as we get older, Rabbeinu Bachya says, it's about your choices. It's not about how you're born. When you get older and you start working on your life, it's not about, and nurture is not even the right word, environment. You create your environment. It's choices. It shouldn't be nature versus nurture. It should be nature versus choices. Your choices, because your nurture, the environment that you choose to put yourself in, the group of friends that you decide to hang out with, that's your choice. Everything is your choice. And so it's empowerment. You have a choice here. Don't say you're wired a certain. That only works for a few years. I'm created this way. Once you get older, you read the Torah, you read the Chumash. Oh, Moshe Rabbeinu says, reeh. I have to bahata b'chaim. I have to choose life. That means I have choices in my life. Yes. This is something also that's these days in our society, completely gone from society. Yes, you have choices in your life. And you have yourself to congratulate or to blame if things go right or wrong. It's all about victimhood these days out there. Forget victimhood. Make good choices, right? Rabbeinu Bachya says, don't say I'm wired this way. Ben Azai seemingly wasn't wired this way. Now, the Ben Yehoyada disagrees with me. Ben Ishai disagrees. But the pshat of this Gemara is Ben Azai was not wired this way. He learned from Rabbi Akiva and he changed his life. And you know what? He made it to the Pirkei Avot. Like the Hall of Fame for the rabbis. He made it to Pirkei Avot. He got 2 Mishnayot here. This became his motto in life, something he wasn't born with. He thought it was a chutzpah to go into the bathroom. And now he's the one saying, run, 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 run. That became his life. So we can't just say, I'm born this way. I'm not Ben Azai. We can do it. We have to make choices. It's called being an adult. It's called being mature. We have to make tough choices. We choose everything around us. Okay. As I said yesterday, for Seudat Shlishit, just this one line. Chacham Ovadia Yosef, I said this yesterday for those who were here. Chacham Ovadia tells us, what does the word Elul mean? Elul, like I said, everyone loves to run to the Rashi Tevot and there's 6 or 7 or even 8 acronyms that equal the word Elul. But what does the word Elul mean? I read this yesterday in the Seudat Shlishit. It says, look to Sefer Devarim when Moshe is talking about spying the land. And he says, you said to me, let us send men, let us scout the land. And I read this yesterday. What is scout in Targum? The Unkelos, how does he define the word scout the land? To scout the land. Let us scout the land. The Elul. Elul, says Chacham Ovadia, means to scout. It's to scout and choose. To look and say, which way do I want to go in my life? Like the Pasuk says, let us scout the land. Which path do we want to go? The path that we want to go is up to us. It's our choice. We can't blame anyone. We don't say, Hashem, you made me this way. It's up to us. We have power. It is your choice. It is my choice and everyone here's choice. You choose your life. There's no victims. This is a lesson of Elul. This is our job right now in Elul. I mentioned Hannah, a lesson from Hannah. I'm not going to go all the way into Hannah now. We'll have to finish Hannah at a different time, but there is a very strong connection with the story of Hannah. The story of Hannah in 30 seconds, just in case someone doesn't know the story of Hannah. She didn't have any children. She was a great woman. Her husband was a Gadol Ador, is a prophet, her husband, Elkanah. She didn't have any children. Shemuel Aleph, Samuel Aleph, opening of the book. This is how you open the book of Samuel. And she went to the Mishkan Shiloh, and Eli Kohen was the Gadol Hador, Eli. That was his name, Eli, with the ayin. Not Eli, like Eliyahu. Eli with the ayin. And she's praying and praying and praying and praying and sobbing and crying her heart out for children. Eli thinks she's drunk. And he says, hey, come on. You can't be drunk here in the temple. He says, I'm not drunk. I'm praying to Hashem for a child. You misjudged me. You think I'm drunk. Eli says, oh, I'm sorry. Hashem should bless you with a child. That's the Gemara says, from here we learn that if you're Hosheh B'Ksherim, if you accuse someone of doing something wrong, like, hey, you took my thing. No, I didn't. Oh, sorry. You have to give the person a blessing. That's where this comes from. Eli blessed her because he said something wrong about her. That's what Gemara says. Gemara says we learn a bunch of halachot from this story. Oh, a lot of halachot from this story. You can look it up. Nesser Halachot 30, 31, 32. Lots of halachot are learned just from the story of Eli and Hannah. For example, a story that the halakha says if someone's praying, you can't sit down if you're in front of them when they're praying the Amidah. They're praying the Amidah right here. You can't sit right in front of them. How do we know? Eli. Because Eli was standing next to her while she was praying. Why wasn't he sitting? He was the Gadol Ador. Must be. He wasn't allowed to sit because someone was praying. That's another example. Another halakha the Gemara learns is that you have to move your lips when you pray. How do we know you have to move your lips when you pray? Hashem knows my heart. Hashem knows my thoughts. Why can't I just think it? Because it says her lips were moving. Her lips were moving, but he couldn't hear what she was saying. Gemara learns this from Hannah. You know how many halachot learn from this Gemara, from this story? Bunch of halachot learn from the story of Hannah. What happens? And she says, she promises Hashem, person's going to be a Nazir. Like I said yesterday to the special sheet, she says, Hashem, answer your maidservant, answer your maidservant, answer your maidservant 3 times. Gemara says, why 3 times? Amatecha, amatecha, amatecha. The last one is, for those who care about tiktuk, amatecha, amatecha, and amatecha. Why 3? She's saying because we know that there are 3 things that women are they're the champions of the 3 mitzvot, which is Hala, Nida, and Halakat Haned, lighting candles, Nida, and the bread. And she said, I do all these 3 things. Just like Salat of Karahil. And like I said yesterday, the Hidah says, look at Hannah's name. Hannah, the head, Hala. The Nun, Nida. The He, Hadlakat Nerot. She was perfect in all 3 things. So she said, Hashem, there's no reason for you not to give me a kid. I'm doing everything you want from me. And then she said, the Gemara says, if you don't give me a kid, Hannah was a lawyer. Oh, Hannah was a good lawyer. She says, if you don't give me a kid, like I asked, plan B is going to happen. You know what plan B is? I'm going to go right in front of my husband with a strange man. He said, hey, Hannah, you can't go with that guy. You can't go on a date. You're married to me. Oh, I can't go on a date with this guy? Okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to go again with the guy. What's going to happen? He's going to have to take me to the Beit HaMikdash, and Eli, this guy, right, Eli, is going to have to give me the waters of the Sotah. And I'm not doing anything wrong. It's a prank. And what does the Pasuk say? If she sins, she's going to die, and he's going to die. And if she didn't sin, she's going to have a son. And so you know what, Hashem? It's up to you. Choose door number 1 or door number 2. This is what Hannah told Hashem. Gemara says this. Give me the sun because I pray, because I keep the 3 mitzvot, or I'll get the sun on my own. What are you going to violate your own Torah, not give me a son? This is happening one way or another. She had the son. A year later, she had the son. When did the story take place? The story, it's a mahloket. The Pashut Pshat, basic understanding, is the story took place on the Shalosh Hagalim, the 3 holidays. But the Shalach HaKadosh learns and says this was the night of Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says 3 people were remembered on Rosh Hashanah for children. 3 of our great foremothers, I guess you would call it, were remembered for children on Rosh Hashanah: Sarah, Rachel, and actually Rivka and Hannah, all on Rosh Hashanah. Now they were remembered on Rosh Hashanah, or they got conception on Rosh Hashanah. Which one was it? It's mahloket. But it doesn't say they had conception. It's they were remembered. Remembered. We read this on Rosh Hashanah. V'Hashem pakad et Sarah. Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah. What's the Torah reading? What do we read on Rosh Hashanah? V'Hashem pakad et Sarah. Hashem remembered Sarah. We read this on Rosh Hashanah. Why do Hashem remembered Sarah? That was on Rosh Hashanah that he remembered her. And what's the haftarah of that day? Hannah. Hashem remembered her also. It says in the Navi and Shemuel, Hashem remembered Hannah. They both got remembered on the same day, which was Rosh Hashanah. Next year, she had a kid. Now, Hannah, as you can see, was a powerhouse. Powerhouse. Tzadeket, like you never heard. But there's an incredible midrash, and it's mind-boggling. I'm going to read you here the Malbim. So I just told you the story outside. Open up Shemuel Aleph, Samuel 1, read the story. There was a man, his name was Elkanah. This should sound familiar, people. This is the Korah connection. Remember the Korah class? Elkanah was from Korah. Shemuel was the tikkun of Korah. Remember this? Come on, please. Yeah? That was a great lesson that day. If you didn't come for that one, you got to find that one on YouTube. The Korah connection. That was a good one. Let's continue. Veloshete Nashim. Remember that one. Veloshete, the best one. Yeah, I love that one. Veloshete Nashim. Elkanah had 2 wives, Hannah and Penina. Penina had all the kids, 10 kids. Hannah, 0. Now let's look at the pasuk. Ve'ala ha'isha hu me'iro. That man, Elkanah, he used to go up from his city, mi'amim yamima, from time to time, li'ishtahavot v'lezboach la'Hashem b'Shiloh, to pray and to bow to Hashem in Shiloh. That's where the Mishkan was. When they entered the land of Israel, they didn't just build the Beit HaMikdash right away. They had the Mishkan still. The Mishkan was in Shiloh for 369 years. It's a long time. 369 years the Mishkan was in Shiloh. Now, when did he go to Shiloh to pray? Let's look at over here, the Malbim. The man Elkanah and his whole family with Penina and Hannah, they used to go up. Lo Allah shum ish l'Shiloh, rak ha'ish, continues here, rak ha'ish hahu. It's up here. Only he used to go up. Where is it? Here. He was the only one who used to go from his town, Malbim says. Why was Elkanah the only one from his whole town to go to the Shiloh? No one else wanted to go to Beit HaMikdash? And the answer is chapter 2 and 3 of Shemuel. Look what the sons of Eli were doing. Pinchas and his brother, Hophni and Pinchas. It says they were doing things that were no good. The sons of Eli were the Kohanim. They were in charge of the Beit HaMikdash, of the Shiloh, of the Mishkan Shiloh. And what were they doing? If you read the pasuk, it looks very bad what they're doing. It says they used to sleep with the women. The women were coming, it's straight out Tanakh. The women were coming with their bird offerings. Women had to bring bird offerings after having a baby. And it says they would sleep with the women. The Kohanim, the rabbis, were sleeping with the women. Gemara says a mahloket. What does this mean? One pshat in Gemara says, kamashmo, just like it sounds like. They would literally do that. All the rabbis in the Gemara say, slow down. It can't be. They didn't actually sleep with the women. What it means was they were money hungry and they wanted meat, beef. And so therefore, they prioritized the beef sacrifices over the bird sacrifices. And so when these hazit, these poor women come with their birds, they're like, lady, go to the back of the line. I'll take your bird later. I don't want chicken right now. My family needs beef. And so all the women, back of the line, will do you later. The women, they just finished having a baby. They just finished being nidah. They want to go home to their husbands. They're kosher now. They dipped in the mikveh. They want to go home to their husbands. What happens? They have to sleep in Yerushalayim, waiting for the rabbis to take their birds. They made the women wait overnight. You take a woman away from her husband on mikveh night. That's just like you slept with her. That's what the Gemara says. Why does it say they slept with the women? Because they held the women from their husbands. There's a famous Nodabi Yehuda. What time is it? Is it late? The Nodabi Yehuda says, Eshet Ish, if someone, God forbid, commits adultery with someone's wife, he says, there's two transgressions. Two. Ben Adam Makom, it's one of the 10 Commandments. Ben Adam Habiro, that's someone's wife. You have to get forgiveness from this person. Taking a woman, taking a woman and making her sleep in Yerushalayim at a hotel or in a motel or on the street or someone's house just because you don't want her bird offering, because you're not in the mood for chicken, that's like sleeping with her. The pasuk also says they would take extra pieces of meat, their share. So the Kohanim have a share of the korban, and the Yisraelim, the regular people, have their share in the korban. And so what they do, they sent their guys, their assistants, go get the meat. And they used to take, it says, a 3-pronged fork with 3 prongs. I don't know if I guess they didn't have 4-pronged forks in that time. So this was a hidush. It was a big fork. 3 prongs. What do you need 3 for? Maybe they had 2 back then. They used to stick in the meat. It grabs more meat. And it says they would walk over to the people who were slaughtering their meat. First of all, they were walking to people who were cooking the meat for the korban. And they say, hey, give us the piece of the Kohen. Wait a second. Hold on. I'll give you the piece for the Kohen. How hungry are the Kohanim? Move over, right into the pot. We got our piece. You can't do that. And then they would tell the people, we don't want the cooked meat. We want the raw meat. Hofni and Pinchas, they want the raw meat. You could put it in the freezer. We don't want your cooked meat spices. Give it to us raw. You don't have to bother spicing it for us. Save money on black pepper. Gemara, not literally, but Gemara says this. And so they will go and they would say, give me the raw meat. The 3-pronged fork, give me the raw meat. And so Hofni and Pinchas, these are the 2 rabbis. These are the 2 head rabbis, sons of the biggest rabbi in the whole world, Eli Kohen. Would you want to go to the Mishkan Shiloh if this is going on there? Who wants to go to this? Who wants to go to a shul like this? That's why Mabim says he was the only guy from his town who went. They turned away all the customers, these rabbis. Nobody was interested in going to shul. Rashi in Kohelet. Rashi says, Pasuk in Kohelet says, a person is going to be very, very happy for what he does. Kohelet chapter 5, last Pasuk in chapter 5. What does Rashi say? Look at Rashi. Ra'iti b'midrash, I saw in the midrash, Rashi says, Ze Elkanah. This pasuk is talking about Elkanah, the husband of Hannah. Why? Shemadrich et Yisrael la'alot l'Shiloh b'regalim. He taught the Jewish nation to go back to Shiloh for the holidays. Everybody stopped going. He's the one that taught everyone, guys, we got to go back to the Mishkan for the holidays. ובדרך שמעלה אותן לשנה זו, לא היה מעלה אותן לשנה אחרת. כדי לפרסם הדבר ולהרגילם לפי היחסו הכתוב בעלי איש ההוא. What is that she's saying? Elkanah, he saw what was going on in Mishkan Shiloh. He saw what the rabbis were doing. He saw nobody wanted to go. And he told himself, we have to go to the Mishkan. Yes, there are terrible things happening. We have to run to do a mitzvah. Whether you love it, whether it's perfect, whether it's halfway, it's better than staying home. And so therefore, I'm going to make a go back to Shiloh campaign. And what he did was, every holiday, there's 3 holidays of the year, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Every holiday, he would choose a different highway to go down. And he would make a big deal. Everyone says, where are you going, Elkanah? With this whole entourage. Penina had 10 kids. So he's got all these boys with him and his 2 wives. Where are you going? He was a prophet. We're going to Shiloh. Come join us. Shiloh? With Hofni and Pinchas? What? Why would I want to go there? Come join us. Next holiday, we're going to choose the 101. Let's go on the 101 this time. Where are you going? We're going to Shiloh. Come join us. Next holiday, the 405. Every holiday, a different road. Why? I'm going to inspire Klal Yisrael. Go back to shul. The rabbis are not great. The rabbis are not great. You have to run to something that's good. You don't just stay home. Go back to shul. Midrash says, what was his reward? Shemuel, the child. Which means, yes, Hannah had a great campaign against Hashem. Yes, Hannah was a great lawyer. Without the Zechut of Elkanah doing this, his choice to do this, it wouldn't have been enough to have Shemuel. He ended up having a son, Shemuel, that we said one time here, a month ago or something, Shemuel was equal to Moshe and Aharon together. Shemuel was one of the greatest people we ever had. Why? Because he made it his mission to be vigorous and passionate to get people to go to shul, to go to Shiloh. Hakam Vadia has a beautiful sefer in Pirkei Avot. It's called Anaf Eitz Avot. Beautiful sefer. And on this Mishnah Pirkei Avot of Ben Azai running to a mitzvah, to mitzvah, gorer mitzvah, he says, for example, Elkanah running to Shiloh. And so Elkanah, Hannah, the story that we read about on Rosh Hashanah, is there a lot to learn from her? Absolutely. And we're going to do another huge lesson from her, God willing, next week. Big lesson from Hannah. We'll do another part about it. Massive lesson. But from Elkanah, look at her husband for a second. Her husband, passionate. Are things perfect? No. Things are not perfect. But you have to run to a mitzvah when you can find one. I think that's another problem that our society suffers from these days. Because I hear it all the time. Like I said, I don't like the rabbi's speeches. The Hazan's too slow. The Hazan's too fast. I don't want to go there. The silihot there is not my style. It's not my custom. I go home and have more kavanah. All the excuses in the world because it's not perfect just the way you like it. But Rabotai, now it's Elul. Now it's Elul. Put all the excuses on the side. We go to shul. When we have goodness, we run after the goodness. There's a friend of mine in the community here. I've been having the same argument with him for as long as I'm living here, 13 years. He has a bunch of kids, and I always tell him, stop shul hopping. Rabbi Victor Miller was very against shul hopping. Rabbi Victor Miller, he says it's no good. He says to a young girl, don't marry a guy who's a shul hopper. Rabbi Miller said this. Don't marry a guy who's a shul hopper. Why? He doesn't belong anywhere. He cannot show up anywhere, and no one will wonder where he is, because he's not a regular anywhere. I hop shuls. I go from this shul to this shul to this shul. I'm not accountable anywhere. No one has to ask where am I. They'll just assume I'm in a different place. Someone who's not accountable, Rabbi Miller says, he's not accountable to anybody. Why would you want to marry someone? If you want to marry him, tell him pick a shul. Pick the best rabbi you like. Finished. Is the rabbi perfect? No. Is anyone perfect? No one's perfect. Pick the best thing for you. So I told this guy, I always tell this guy, I have 5 kids. I think he has 5 kids. I always tell him, your children, give your children a shul, a good experience. Is it exactly the way you like? Maybe not. Don't be so selfish. Give your children a shul. Give your children a place to live, a place. Famous story. I've said this maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm sure some of you remember it. The story of someone, a wealthy person who passed away, and he had tons of money and no children. And so now the question is, what happens to his big estate? Remember the story? What happens to the big estate? Comes a person and says, that guy was my father. I moved out of town. That was my father. I'm his only son. The estate goes to me. Comes another guy and says, that guy was my father. I don't know who you are. You're a lawyer. That guy was my father. He went to the rabbi. The rabbi says, what am I supposed to do? Let me ask you questions. What color was his hair? What was his favorite food? Everyone says the exact answer. Chalent was his favorite food. Silver hair. Everyone knows the answers. How am I supposed to know which one is which? Come to the shul. Come to the shul. You wait in the hallway. You, where did he sit? Show me his seat. I have no idea where he sat. So, sometimes over there, sometimes over there. Out. You, where did he sit? The second seat on the back row, there was an old man sitting next to me that used to yell. Exactly that's where he used to sit. You're his son. This story sticks with me because it's so important. Is everything going to be perfect? We're coming now to holiday times. Is everything going to be just the way we like it for the holidays? With the prayers and the hazan and the shofar and the people around us and the chairs and the names on the chairs and which seat you got and are you in the COVID section or not the COVID section and all these things. Is everything going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Be like Elkanah. It's time for us to learn from Rabbeinu Bahya. Make the choice. Ben Azai says, run to good things and run away from bad things. Am I born this way? No. But I have a choice. It's up to us. We choose. We choose. Let's review. Number one, Rak Hazak. Remember that Rashi, Torah says, Hazak, be strong. Don't eat blood. Why would I want to eat blood? Says Shimon ben Azai, Rabbi Shimon ben Azai. Exactly. If something is so disgusting like blood, Hashem says, Hazak, imagine everything else. And now it fits when you open your Pirkei Avot chapter 4. And you read chapter 4, he says, Ben Azai, who is this? Rabbi Shimon ben Azai. Why do they call him Ben Azai? According to me, because that's the trait he embodied. Pirkei Avot's all about traits. Ben Azai, strong, passionate, run to the mitzvot, run away from the avirot. Next Mishnah, don't discount any person. Every single person, think maybe this person is the next Gadol Ador. Maybe this person, don't discount anything. If you can get goodness, take the goodness. Like I said about the shi'ud, there's a shi'ud. That guy is not so far. Does he have semicha? Maybe there's something there you can learn. Just take the goodness and filter out the bad. I'm not going to stay for the speech. I don't like the rabbi's speech. Stay in the speech, filter out the 99% that you don't like, and keep the 1% that you like. Be open, be passionate. That's Rak Hazak. Nature versus nurture, Rabbeinu Bahya says, it's really nature versus choose. There's no nurture. You choose your nurture. You choose your environment. Empowerment. We're not victims here. We make choices. Remember the Sephona, the first Sephona on the Pirashah. Beracha uklala. What about Benoni? I just want to be middle of the road. There is no middle of the road. You can end up in the middle of the road. No problem. End up in the middle. We all end up, most of us end up in the middle of the road. But we shoot for the stars. You shoot for the stars and you end up this way. Hashem is very happy with you. Hashem doesn't need you to end up a Sadiq. He wants you to try to be a Sadiq. That's his formula. And then we have Elul. The word Elul means to scout. That's what we should be doing for the next month. Scouting our hearts, scouting our days, our daily activities. What do we do? What does our schedule look like? Is it the proper schedule for me? There's a new year coming. Should we change our schedule for the next year? Now's the time. Should I move some things around? Should I wake up a little earlier maybe? Put a little musad, a little class here, a little thing there? What should I change in my life? How do I treat people? And the last lesson is to learn from Elkanah. Elkanah, nobody wanted to go near those rabbis. We don't know exactly what the rabbis were doing, but it was not good. It was not pretty to be around. And Elkanah made it his mission, go back to shul. No matter what, if it's the best situation, it's all we got, that's the best situation. Choose the best option and take it. This is a valuable lesson for us for the holidays. Whichever shul we're going to end up in, wherever you end up in, wherever we end up eating with family, whoever ends up at our tables or we end up at their tables, just choose to make the best of the best situation you can. Like Elkanah did. Inspire other people to do the same. No kvetching. Choose the best. And if we do that, it's going to be a great year. B'ezrat Hashem. A great new year. Next week, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll do the other half of the lessons of Hana. And with that, have an amazing month. Chodesh Tov.